Hello and welcome to the podcast of the Prison Officers Association, the UK's largest professional union for prison, correctional and secure psychiatric workers with over 30,000 members. Each month we'll be looking at a different area of the union's work. In this episode, we explore why 68 is just too late for prison officers to have to wait to draw their pension. We have the national chairman and NEC members on what the 68 is too late campaign is all about, why it matters so much, and how you can help to make it a success. I'm pleased to welcome a wide and varied selection of Executive Council members to the podcast, and I'd like to ask each of them to introduce themselves so you know who's on the call, starting with the National Chairman, Mark.
Hi, I'm Mark Fairhurst. I'm the National Chair of the POA, been in the job since 1992, and my home establishment is HMP Liverpool.
And Terry?
Hello, I'm Terry McCarthy. I'm the POA member on the NEC for the North West of England. I've worked at Belmarsh, Manchester, Liverpool, Wymont. I'm now currently based at Thorncross.
And I'm Jackie next, please.
Hi, I'm Jackie Marshall, member of the National Executive Committee of the POA. I joined the job in 1990 and my home establishment is HMP and YOI, Stoke Heath.
Thank you. And Sarah?
Hi, Sarah Rigby. I look after South West and South Wales area for the POA NEC. My home establishment is Lancaster Farms, and I've also worked at Thorncross and at Boston Hall.
Thank you very much. Dave?
Hi, I'm Dave Todd. I'm the National Vice Chair of the POA. I joined the prison service in 1991, got posted on national recruitment down to Swaleside in Kent. Currently, I'm serving at Berwyn.
Thank you. And finally, Jeff.
I'm Jeff Wirtz, NEC POA of Midlands area. I joined in 1998 and my home establishment is HMP Sudbury.
Thank you all very much. You're all very welcome. And listeners, as you can tell, we've got a huge range of experience, both kind of geographically and in terms of years of service. Could I start off, though, colleagues, by asking, how did we get to the situation where 68 was set as the pensionable age for prison officers? It seems ridiculous. How did we get to this point?
It started with a review of public sector pensions by Lord Hutton, 2011, who decided that they weren't sustainable or affordable moving forward. But he didn't, during that review, recognise prison officers as a uniformed frontline service. He did recognise that the police and the fire brigade, because of their hazardous occupations, should enjoy a retirement age lower than other civil servants and public servants, but he never recognised that for prison officers. That was a fundamental mistake which he's never rectified. And with the conditions in jails, as we've witnessed over the past 10 years, it's now cruel to expect prison officers to work in their 60s in what I class as the most hostile and violent workplace of any in Western Europe.
Jackie, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, the current prison officer retirement age is linked to the state pension age, and it's really important that we break that link, because until we do break that link, the retirement age of prison officers will continue to rise. Colleagues,
Mark has already indicated one of the reasons why working till 68 is, to use your words, Mark, cruel. Are there any other reasons why 68 is just too late? Dave and then Terry.
I think you've got to look at mental health issues as well amongst our members. Post-traumatic stress is a big killer. If you work in this environment year in, year out, it will take its toll eventually. And we have a lot of young members who have got 40, potentially 50 years to serve until they reach their pension age. Now, it's all well and good saying, well, you can do that till that age, there's other jobs. There isn't other jobs as a prison officer. A prison officer is an operational member of staff who works with prisoners day in, day out. All the violent incidents, self-harm incidents, and a lot of incidents that impact on people's mental health.
Thank you. Terry?
So for me, one of the biggest problems we as a service have had is being classed as civil servants. The job that we do can't be recognised as being the same as people who work for the Departments of Works and Pensions. Making somebody work at the age of 68 in the environment that we work in is dangerous. It's immoral. You've got a 67-year-old man who might have to be involved in a violent restraint on a 21-year-old inmate. How can that be right? And it shows a basic lack of understanding of the role of a prison officer by the general public and by the powers that be, i.e. ministers.
I mean, Terry's right in what he says there, because you need to look at what age does to your body as well. Because there can't be many other jobs. There is a 65, 66, 67 or 68-year-old that have to do a fitness test. It's the same as a 21-year-old. If you don't pass that fitness test, you don't get access to an unreduced pension.
So we've got a list here already, which is absolutely compelling, isn't it? There's parity with other equivalent civil servants, which are not people who sit behind a desk or in front of a laptop. We've got the post-traumatic stress situation. We've got the violent and dangerous workplace. And that's quite apart from the morality arguments or this weird fitness test thing that Jackie's just referred to, where how on earth can a 67-year-old possibly perform in the same way in a fitness test as to someone who's 50 years younger? So are there particular examples where members having to work on to these ages have caused real problems, both to themselves, to the prisoners they look after, or in some other way?
I think we've all got examples, Simon, but I'll take my own example. So when I joined the service in 1992, I signed on the dotted line and I had a retirement age of 60. With that retirement age became a decent pension and a decent lump sum tax-free. So all my life plans were geared towards a retirement age of 60, the way you take your mortgage out, how much you get that mortgage for, how long it's over, all geared towards a retirement age of 60. In 2015, that was ripped away from me without any choice whatsoever. And it's so frustrating from my point of view that some members consistently blame the union because they have got an increased retirement age. It's got absolutely nothing to do with the union. If you're a civil servant, the government can change your terms and conditions whenever they please. And we must remember, we haven't got the right to strike. We haven't got the right to take industrial action. So the only thing we can do about it is campaign and put pressure on government by highlighting to them how impractical it is for us to work in that environment in our 60s, in the hope that they recognise us as a frontline emergency service and do the right thing. People have made life plans from the time they join the job and it's been destroyed. That ethically is wrong.
Mark makes a good point, Simon. A lot of people in the early 90s, mid-90s came from the armed forces, myself being one of them. And at the time, I had a 12-month window of opportunity to transfer any pension accrued from my army years into the civil service one. Now, I made that decision and transferred that pension in because I could retire at 60. Now I can retire at 60, but it'll be detrimental to me potentially.
So a real case of the goalposts not just changing, but being ripped out the ground and broken into bits, I suppose, after the game started. Jeff, are there particular issues arising from prison officers having to work beyond 60 and into their mid to late 60s that you've experienced amongst colleagues or in the prisons in which you've worked?
Yeah, Simon, I think also you've got to look at previously, like I said, when I joined, when you came later on into the life expectancy of finishing your job at 60, you were given easier tasks and jobs. And obviously them jobs now, but them jobs have gone now. So our members aren't actually in them jobs, and which gave them a little bit more of a hope at the end of their time because it was an easier way out. Now they're still expected, like Jackie said, to complete the fitness test and still expected to be frontline staff, which is difficult.
Indeed it is. I mean, if you go onto the POA website, you'll see a cartoon by Fran Orford right at the top of the campaign page for 68 is Too Late. And it shows a prisoner who's drawn to look as if they're in their mid-60s being pursued by three characters in prison officer uniform who are clearly even older than the prisoner they're chasing. And, of course, they're having no luck catching up with them. Now, humour is a great weapon in terms of getting a message out. But this is no laughing matter at all, is it? This is actually a really serious issue that goes to the heart of the welfare of both the prison officers and the prison population.
I think, Simon, as well, you have to remember when you invite people outside of the service to come in and look at what's actually required of the job in terms of the control and restraint, they're genuinely shocked. I know when I was at Lancaster Farms as local branch chair, we invited our local MP in. She came in and watched CNR training day. We did a demonstration of an incident that, just an average everyday kind of incident that prison staff deal with. And she was genuinely horrified to watch that, trying to control that prisoner. And, on a personal level, I think if you look at a 68-year-old in your family at any point and imagine them on the floor with a young fit, 20-odd-year-old potentially being spat at, being verbally abused, which happens on a daily basis. I mean, it's horrific, to be quite honest. And looking at my mum and dad at 68, it would have broken my heart to watch them go into a prison every day, potentially knowing what they were going to be up against.
Yeah, indeed. Jackie, you had a point?
Yeah, I think one of our biggest problems, especially when we've tried to raise awareness with the public, is nobody sees what we do, because everything we do is behind a fence or behind a wall. So we're often the forgotten service in the hidden heroes. And I think the pandemic's shown that, because there's been very little mention at all about prison officers and how they dealt with that. We're just not forefront of people's thoughts because we're not seen.
Terry and then Dave?
Yeah, so going back to that cartoon you described before, making a person work to 68 not only puts that person in danger, but the colleagues who they've got to work with. I'll give you an example of a prison where I worked for 20 years, along with Mark Fairhurst, Liverpool Prison. It's got 5 landings. I could be on the 5th landing, being involved in an altercation and shout for staff assistance. It could be 2 68-year-old people on the ones landing. They've got to make their way up 5 landings and possibly get involved in a violent altercation. Now, I'd be very surprised if you could manage to get to the 5s, let alone have a fight when they got there. So they're not only endangering that 68-year-old person, but the colleagues as well. And they've not thought of that.
Dave?
I think the other thing that's really unfair, Simon, is getting to retirement age and how long you live afterwards. Because there was a study not so long ago where prison officers was described as one of the most stressful jobs in the country. And I think the life expectancy averaged out at about 18 months. So for somebody to pay into a pension pot for 40, 50 years and then only last 18 months afterwards to enjoy it is perverse.
As an outsider looking in on this, it just seems like an extraordinary position, not of members' own making, where their expectations have been turned upside down, and it is irrational in almost every way you can look at it. So I'm not surprised that there is great concern and anger amongst the membership. What are the sorts of things that you would want members and reps to do to try and push this point home? I have to say, Sarah, your idea of inviting a local MP in, so to lift the veil on what happened, sounds like one of those things.
Yeah, we definitely need more of that. Definitely, the more MPs that can see what's actually going on in our prisons and what's expected of prison officers, the better. You know, it's easier to get our message out.
Yeah, there are lots of things our members can do, and let's be frank about this. We are members of a trade union, and every trade union in the land has never been given anything by any government. They've had to fight and fight hard to get the rights that we enjoy at work these days.
Jackie?
Yeah, I'll just say nationally, there was an open invite to MPs to come and watch our staff do a planned removal with a violent prisoner. And I think only one person said they would come. And I think that, if I remember right, that was Tony Benn, was the only person who said he would come from an open invite to all MPs.
Certainly, I've had my constituent MP in Swaleside when I worked there, an MP, a Tory MP by the name of Gordon Henderson, who, give him his due, I think he's a friend of the union. He's debated in Parliament on behalf of POA members. But I think we need to get somebody of major influence within the Tory party so they can come, engage with us. Look, come and see our advanced tornadoes regaining control of a landing. You know, as Mark said, the cell extraction and things like that, it's really, really important because Jackie makes a very good point. We've always been the forgotten service. We've always held any incident within the walls. It very rarely spills out into the public. You know, if the public don't see it, then they're not aware, unfortunately. So do we deliver the job really well? Yes, we do, because it never spills out.
And when control has been lost and it's on the news, they always announce now the specially trained police officers have come to regain control. They're not police officers, they're prison officers who have travelled a long, long distance to get there to help their colleagues. But they always say they're police officers.
I think what we must remember, Simon, is that the government always throw back at us nationally that your members have rejected 2 offers of a reduced retirement age. That's true, but they were not standalone offers. They had caveats to them. They were mixed in with other workforce reforms. And the latest offer in 2017 was to have a reduced retirement age of state pension age minus 3 years. Now, for me, my retirement age at the moment is 67. That would have given me a retirement age of 64. But I signed up for a retirement age of 60. That's what I want. But what we've got to remember also is that in the future, which is highly likely to happen, considering the amount of debt this country is now in, if the government increased that retirement age to 70, if our membership would have accepted that offer, we'd be back to where we are now with a retirement age of 67. So I guess there's still a long way to go, but something that may suit everybody, because we're all well aware that we've got staff who are still working in their 60s on the landings, but that's more out of necessity than choice. Life choices and the reduction in wages and the pay freezes, the increase in pension contributions, the increase in national insurance contributions. Some people are not in a position where they can retire at the age they would like. But what we must do is we must keep pushing this. You know, I want a retirement age of 60, and what might suit people is eventually getting a deal where any pension we've accrued within the service is not abated. So that means, for example, on the pension scheme we're on now, if I retire before the age of 67, I lose some of my pension because I've retired early. And what we're saying is, well, maybe we can negotiate some sort of deal because of our uniqueness, because of our occupation, which is different to other civil servants, that we can retire at any age over 60 without any abatement, and we can take both the pensions we've accrued and enjoy our retirement. That's maybe an option, but only if the government are willing to listen to us. Let's not forget, prison officers make up less than 5% of the entire civil service pension scheme. It's no great shakes for this government to do a deal with this union and agree that we are a frontline emergency service, and we really can't work in our 60s in that environment.
Without retiring with some dignity. We just want to retire with dignity.
When I joined the job, pension was a long way off. I would urge our younger members to consider their future here and now, because it feels a lifetime away, but really it isn't. You know, you will, if you stay in this job, it will come round very quick when you're thinking about your pension. We need to get it right for the younger members as well as the older members. The younger members are all important, probably the majority of the membership now. I do urge them to get involved and familiarise themselves with their pension schemes.
Yeah, I mean, this is an issue that affects everyone, no matter what your age. Agreed.
We've got to keep on fighting. We've got to persevere. We've got to campaign and heighten awareness with the public and with MPs about our plight, and we will achieve a retirement age of 60.
So what can members do? They can lobby their MP, especially if their local MP has a prison in their constituency. Get the support of the MPs for a retirement age of 60 for prison officers. They can invite them into their prisons to see their working environment, to highlight how impractical it is for 60-year-olds plus to work in that environment. They can invite them to demonstrations of planned removals. That's where we can have 3 staff in full riot kit go into a cell and restrain what would be a violent CNR instructor playing the role of a prisoner, armed with a table leg or a pickaxe handle to simulate a weapon, and ask them, could you do that in your 60s? Do you expect your grandparents to deal with that level of violence at such an age? We can get petitions going, we can attend rallies, we can attend parliamentary groups, and we can engage when the House of Commons is back online and they're accepting visitors. We can get in the House of Commons and ask questions and lobby politicians from all parties. So there are lots that we can all do, but we have to get off our backsides and do it, because you'll never win the fight if you don't start the battle.
Terry, Jackie, Sarah, Dave, Jeff and Mark, thank you very much indeed. So the message is clear. The union can and does make a real difference to the working lives of prison officers, wherever they work and whoever they work for. So if you haven't signed up yet, speak to your local POA rep or head over to poauk.org.uk to find out how to join and all the information about the union and the work that it does. Thank you for listening to the POA podcast. We hope you like what you've heard and will join us for the next edition. Until then, thank you and goodbye. The POA podcast is presented by me, Simon Sapper. Music is by Scott Holmes.